God's evening, people. So, today marks the day that I began my military service 25 years ago. A quarter of a century I've been serving in the Army. And it's something that I never, ever expected to be doing. Little story about how I got here. So, many years ago, more than 25, I made a decision that I had to do something better, something different, because I was not satisfied with the direction that my life was going at the time. I had kids, wasn't married at the time, but I had kids, and I wanted to be able to take care of them and provide for them. Had plans to get married and wanted to be able to provide for my family. And the things that I was doing at the time was not going to get me there. So, my brother was in the Air Force, and he was doing pretty well. So I said, hey, I can do that. Let me go join the Air Force. Well, some of you know, some of you don't. I was a troubled child when I was younger. Had been arrested a couple of times, nothing major, just, some minor things. But the Air Force is picky, so the Air Force looked at my arrest record and said, no, I'm sorry, we can't use your services. So I'm like, all right, cool. The way the recruiting stations were, it was Air Force, Navy, Army, and Marines, or it might have been Navy, Marines, and Army. Different offices all in a row. So I walk out of that door and go into the next door, go to the Navy. I walk in and they have a TV set up with a video playing. And I look over at the TV and I see a ship out in the middle of the ocean. No land anywhere near, all water. That ain't for me. I turned around, didn't even speak to anybody. I turned around and walked right back out the door. I think the Marine office was next. I looked at that door, kept on going to the next door. Found myself in the Army recruiter's office and told him what I was there for. And long story short, 25 years later, here I am. Now, those 25 years were not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but they weren't bad, they weren't hard. They weren't too difficult. So, when I first joined the Army, I had a quick temper, so to speak. I fought a lot when I was a kid. And my first duty station in Korea, my temper showed up because someone said something to me that I didn't appreciate. Luckily, I had a leader who was understanding and cared more about me as a person than doing what the military says he should have done. Guy said something that I didn't like, and I slapped him. Now, military standards, I should have been punished for that. But my leader at the time gave me a talk. He said, hey, this is a different world. This is a different profession. This is a career. This isn't a job. And if you're going to make something out of this, if this is something that you want to be successful at, you have to change your mentality. You can't do things like that, and you can't be so quick to get upset about things like that. Now, at the time, I really didn't want to hear what he said. You know, I felt disrespected. So I agreed with him just to stay out of trouble. But I never forgot what he said, and it stuck with me. Prayerfully, I did not get in trouble for that. I apologized to the guy that I slapped, and I moved on with my career. Then I was at a point where I was thinking about getting out of the Army. Initially, my plan was only do 3 or 4 years, get a skill that I can use in the outside sector, and you know, continue to build on that. I was getting ready to get out of the Army, and I still didn't have a plan that I was comfortable with that was going to provide for my family. So I continued to stay. Then after those, 3 or 4 years or so, I was planning to get out again. And yet again, I still failed to plan to where I was comfortable with being able to provide for my family if I were to get out of the Army. So I signed up for more years. And in that time period, I really started, that was at about the, I want to say 6 or 7 year mark in the Army. In that time period, I realized that this is something that I can do. This is something that I find satisfaction in. This can be my career. I can make something out of this. This is something that I'm good at. So I stayed in, and then when I started approaching that 20-year mark and had not been promoted in the last 9 to 10 years, I started thinking, well, maybe it's time for me to hang it up. But God said, no, not yet. And then he promoted me. Now, I had to do a lot to earn that promotion, don't get it twisted. But I'm a firm believer that promotions come from God, not man. So God promoted me. And then I started to flourish more. I started to learn more. I started to become more relevant because my mind and my thoughts were more relevant. And now here I am at my 25-year mark, and I'm on the cusp of reaching the pinnacle of promotions in the Army. And I'm proud of that accomplishment. Now, would I be here if I was held accountable for my transgressions when I first came in the Army? No, I wouldn't. Would I be here if I followed my gut, or if I followed my thoughts instead of my heart, or if I followed what I wanted to do instead of what I needed to do when I was ready to get out a few times? No. Would I be here if I decided to retire once I hit the 20-year mark instead of continuing to go with God's plan for me? No. Would I be here if I quit? No. And you know, that's one thing that my dad always taught me and my brother. Whatever you start, you finish. You don't quit. Now, I could have retired, which is not quitting. Could have retired at 20 years. But when I prayed on it, God said, I have bigger plans for you. Follow my lead. I'll take you there. And his plan showed up, even when I doubted him. His plan showed up. So, you know, that's just, my thoughts today are just me reflecting on the last 25 years. There are very few people that serve this long, and some people look at me like, why? Why are you still here at 25 years? I'm still here because I'm still having fun. I'm still here because I'm still enjoying what I'm doing. I'm still here because God still has a plan for me. God said, it's not time for you to go yet. I'm not ready for you to go yet. I've got plans for you. So that's why I'm still here. And I will continue to be here until God tells me it's time to go. Y'all have a blessed evening. Be safe this weekend. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Make progress, not excuses.
Yeah.